so nice to see live people in a live theater. Masked or unmasked, you are all beautiful. Thank you for being here tonight. What are you going to see? Well, you watched to see dinner. How was that? That was excellent. For the past 10 weeks, we've gotten together every Tuesday night. 7 police officers from the NYPD and 7 civilians from different communities around the city have come here to have dinner and go on a journey that has been unlike anything I've ever gone through before. And I've done this project 9 times. We have, by tomorrow, we'll have spent 56 hours together. 56 hours. People who never knew each other and would never sit down at a table with each other. And what you're going to see tonight is some of that journey. You're here for the first time. We're at the end of our 10 weeks. We will try to let you in as flies on the wall. And sometimes we're going to ask you to help us out. We'll get suggestions from you. Sometimes we'll ask you to come up on stage with us if you're willing. We won't be forced to do anything. You know, I was thinking about the word today, and it can be such an important word. If I told you you were going to see a serious play, you'd all get your volumes of Shakespeare out so you'd know what you were going to see the next day. But if I said you're going to serious play, that's what tonight is. Because we have been playing together seriously for 10 weeks. And sometimes it's absolutely silly, right? Sometimes it's absolutely crazy. And sometimes it's very, very intense. So I thank you for being the fly on the wall. We're still in our dinner conversation. And what we're gonna do is, one of us, you'll hear 3 voices coming from the audience. And we're like your base coaches. So Rick over there is the third base coach. Michael David is the home run coach. I'm the first base coach. And you might hear us say, share your voice. Or you might hear us say, stage picture. And we're going to be coaching these folks through the evening, just as we've done for the past 10 weeks. But what comes out of them is all theirs. The discussion you're going to hear tonight, the serious play you're going to see, it's all theirs. So I'm going to kick it off with a prompt tonight. And I'd like, Tim, up there, would you play the recording?
Adams this week warned New Yorkers that recording police encounters from too close a distance.
The buy-in, but the guys in the locker room.
Adams this week warned New Yorkers that recording police encounters from too close a distance will not be tolerated. Now, to be fair to the mayor, getting too close was his specific point, but his language inflamed activists interested in police oversight when he made it sound like he's critical of recording police encounters at all. For instance,
if an officer is on the ground wrestling with someone that has a gun, they should not have to worry about someone standing over them with a camera.
And the mayor seemed to suggest if you see a police encounter you want to monitor, never mind if you can't afford this, you might start by going to an Apple store.
If an officer is trying to prevent a dispute from taking place and de-escalate that dispute, they shouldn't have someone standing over their shoulders with a camera in their face, yelling and screaming out there at them without even realizing what the encounter is all about. There's a proper way to police and there's a proper way to document. If your iPhone can't catch that picture with you being at a safe distance, then you need to upgrade your iPhone. Stop being on top of my police officers while they're carrying out their jobs. That is not acceptable, and it won't be tolerated.
All right, Mayor Adams there at this week's rollout of those controversial new neighborhood safety teams. not in full dress NYPD uniforms. We'll talk about that too. But listeners, tell us your stories
Buy-in.
of.
Was that abrupt stop? We opened, yes, Anthony did his patented table massage. That's how we know that he's riled up. Well, brother.
I promise I'm gonna be short and sweet. First of all, these are not your police. These are our police. Just like your paycheck go in the pot, mine does too. So there has to be an understanding that there's no ownership of them because you're the mayor of the city. That's number one. Number two, it's a lot of sneaky shit that can be done real low key up in the cut and hurt somebody. So the idea that you have to be away from them to record it because it's getting on top of them because they won't allow them to do their job, to me is crazy. Because just like you can tell from one video that my man in Minnesota was being choked the way he was. We couldn't see that in one video, right? So you can't make that judgment. You're not a photographer, sir. And number three, the popos do it all the time. They be talking to you crazy, and we talk crazy back to them. But they be talking to you crazy, or they're arresting you and they don't put on their camera. And you ask them, was your camera on if I want to interact with you? And then they say, no, I don't have to do it. Then I don't have to interact with you. And I'm saying, y'all know I love y'all, right? Y'all know I love all y'all. But at the end of the day, we have to come to a place where it's not just about me versus them, but all of us.
Anyone like to, yes, Hardy.
So let me hear what you were saying was that.
Share your voice, Hardy.
So let me say what you were saying again to make sure I understood it correctly.
Let me hear what you say. What? Who?
So basically, what you're saying is that they are our cops, not the mayor's cops.
His too.
They're his too, but they're mostly our cops as a community, not a specific individual. And that sometimes, you need to be closer in because you can't necessarily get that shot from being at a distance. And sometimes you get into it and the cops are going back and forth and they're not putting their camera on and they say, well, if you're not going to put your camera on, then I'm not going to interact with you, and then they still interact with you. So those are your points?
Exactly.
I would definitely feel the same, that I think that if, as long as you're at a safe distance and you're not interfering with the police work, you should be allowed to take the videos, because I've seen cops do so many things unhanded that you can't see from their own body camera. That I've been in situations personally where I've seen them do things to people at parties.
So, for me, the safe distance thing, it depends on how close you are, right? So if you see me, right, if I'm in the street and I'm struggling with someone who's got a gun, and your first thought is to let me record this while she fights for her life, you're an asshole. Your first thought should be, hey, why don't we, maybe we should help this cop get this gun from this person so everyone goes home alive. That should be number one. Number two, I've had instances where I talk to everybody. I talk to a wall. There is nobody else around. And I would be standing on a foot post, and I'm talking to somebody, and they're a person of color. And we're having a beautiful interaction where we're just shooting the shit, having a good time, talking, whatever, real friendly. And somebody comes up in my face at the cameras, you're harassing this citizen, you're harassing this citizen. And I'm like, I'm sorry, do you feel harassed? Like, I don't care if people film me. I love that I have a body camera because it will tell my side of the story better than anything else. It'll show I'm out here, I'm trying to do the right thing. Do I care if you film? Absolutely not. If you want to film, film me. But if you're so close that now I can spit on you, I can feel your breath on me, it's not just the fact that it's like, oh, I'm annoyed because you're filming me. It's you're now putting yourself in danger. You don't know the situation you just walked into. I got called because there was somebody with a knife. And now I'm trying to make sure they don't have a knife. If they do have a knife, they're not looking to get that knife away from them. And now you're up in my face. You're in such an unsafe distance that now if that person decides to pull out that knife, not only do I have to now worry about protecting myself and the person I'm dealing with, now I have to worry about protecting you. That just puts so much more weight on my shoulders. So the way that he was talking, no, he likes to be very gruff and whatever when he speaks, I guess. I don't get that. But the point of what I think he's trying to get across is what I've been saying this whole time, which is, listen, I don't care if you film. Listen, hold me up to the yardstick that says I'm doing my job right, always. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to serve and protect. But when you make it so it's now unsafe for everybody, that's when I have the issue with it.
We have to look at it in his context. Sometimes we go out of context.
Do your Marvin Gaye thing. Put the mic right up there. There you go.
Sometimes we look at what people say out of context. When we look at what he's saying in context, it goes back to what Jen says. If you're reasonable, you will understand that I might be in danger. Let me not be too close to what they are doing. Mayor Adams is not saying don't record. Mayor Adams is saying you can record, just not so close. Let the officers do what they have to do. Now, if your camera can't get it, then go out and get another camera that is able to get what it is that's taking place. He's not saying don't record. You can record. But it takes a reasonable mind to understand that you can do it. You got to look at it in his context. Now, 1 is for the officer's safety. 2, it's for the civilian's safety. 3, it is for your own safety. But see, when we go out of context and we go into this without a reasonable mind, then we're all over the place. And then that's when abuse of whatever it may be, and in this case, it's being too close or recording too close, takes place, and then we take what he said out of context.
That's a great, I want to underline what you said about context. And we've been talking a lot in our work about context, right? So what is the context for this particular conversation?
I think the context is, I don't need no mic. The context to me is that the last guy who was in charge, the last mayor, didn't care about his officers. This guy is saying, you know what, let me let the public know my guys need to be safe when they protect your city, when they're protecting themselves. This guy, this gesture is a sign of good faith from this new mayor. So maybe he's forced, because the last guy really didn't care what you did. He didn't care what the public did at all. He did not care about his cops at all. So this is a good step in the faith of the mayor does run the city, and he does. He runs the city, he runs the school system, he runs sanitation. He's the chief, he's the top dog. So now from that's where leadership falls in line. If leadership is saying, hey, listen, these are challenges that the officers are facing, you can record all you want. You can help me, you can not help me. But all I know is when you go from a certain distance, you come in my kill zone, you might get something that you don't want. And that's what Nikki was saying. You can observe. For instance, you're observing something right now. Come into the floor. You're about to be part of this show, and you don't want that. You know what I mean? Because Michael David will make you a part of this show. And so that's almost like but it's a little heartwarming that now the guy who's in charge is actually supporting police officers, and also throwing out rules of instruction to the public. Hey, record, but keep the distance. There's a referee now. Before we ain't have one.
Civilian thoughts on context? Anthony?
It was the comment about don't give you a phone that can't do it. Like, most of these times, some of this stuff is happening in economically deprived areas. Everybody can't get an iPhone or the newest one. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My mom could, but she had a flip phone until like 2010. I just feel like there's context for everything, and I mean I don't know, I've never seen it be an issue with people filming cops, but like I don't know why a person would be up close to you with their camera anyway. But if they were, I mean I can kind of understand it, because it's been a couple times my interaction with the police was like really, really bad, but there was also times that it was really, really good. You know what I'm saying? But when you walk into a situation, I guess we've been conditioned to see when there's a tussle or something, and you see 2 white cops and a black person, it's automatically, it's something's not right. I'm tripping. I know I'm the first one with my phone out, right or wrong, because I don't trust whatever they gonna do to him. I don't trust. I'm not trust y'all.
Other civilian thoughts, voices?
Like a word that we've heard, thank you. A word that we've heard a lot in the last few years is accountability. And this is, to me, this is, people filming officer interactions. That's a form of accountability. And in that clip, it sounded, and like you said, Jen, he's very gruff. He's could be a little bit, more, it sounded like an attack on accountability from what he was saying. I know he's looking out for the safety of his officers, but it sounded more like, don't even try it, And he didn't say don't try it, but he used an extreme example of like someone wrestling a gun, an officer wrestling a gun off of someone. And that's the most extreme example. Like there's so many other instances that would warrant someone filming them that is not someone wrestling a gun off of someone, like any other police interaction. And those, he didn't mention those at all. Like he went right to the thing that makes it seem like it's a irresponsible civilian putting themselves in danger. This has to stop. And I don't doubt that has happened, but it felt very tactical. And my worry in hearing something like this is that someone introduces legislation that now it's illegal to film, period. Like, this very well could be the precursor to something like a change like that happening in a legal sense. So it felt like an attack on accountability, and it didn't feel like it was really taking the civilian's perspective into account.
So, just a part of what I understood you just say was that Mayor Adams used an extreme example, where he could have used a lighter example. If the truth be told, that's not an extreme example. That is a natural, usual occurrence. In the police department, we have things that are called unusual occurrences, things that don't happen often. Officers wrestling people with guns is something that happens on a daily basis. I've had to wrestle somebody with a gun, and I didn't even know he had the gun on him. And they were up close on me with the camera. So now I'm wrestling this guy and pushing this guy back. Thank goodness it happened on the corner of the precinct where everybody else came out. I thought that maybe this thing might get thrown out once the DA sees everything. The DA kept everything. But this is something that happens on an everyday occurrence, multiple times a day in different areas of the city. It's happening. So for him to use that example, it actually hits close to home because a lot of the issues that we are facing right now is actual gun violence.
I think there's a lot of that. I think that one of the things that was said was reasonable. I think the problem is as a society in America, we've become so unreasonable with our expectation. We look at these incidences, and the people are not videoing them in most situations to provide accountability to cops. They're videotaping it because they want to become the next Instagram or the next YouTube person. From what I've seen, all of these people are putting it out there, and they're getting in their faces. The ones that are actually providing accountability, they're at a safe distance. They're reasonable because you can actually use that video to accomplish something. When you're up here while she's trying to arrest someone, what are you going to see? Just her eyes. You're not going to see anything else about her. So when he used that extreme example, he needed to use that example from his point of view because he's dealing with a population of not reasonable people. And we can see that the more that we talk in this class, people are not reasonable. You see that on the street, you see that on the subway.
First of all, I want to say thank you. It didn't even cross my mind that it's a daily occurrence, that all of you might need to wrestle someone, knowing or not knowing that they have a gun. Like, that sends shiver down my spine. I do want to pick up on what Frank was saying and kind of what Nick was saying about context and how Mayor delivered the message. Because, speak for myself, I'm not Google Translate. Like, I don't take in a message and just take the text. I take the tone of voice, I take the emotions. And the thing that I took in the most was his frustration. And my question immediately was, where is his frustration directed to? And it got me really triggered because it made me think it's us and them. You know, the mayor didn't explain the situation like Ronnie and Nick and Jan just did, in an even tone of voice with understanding of where our concerns are. So I guess that's what I wish would have happened and will happen. It just feels to me like, it feels unfortunate that sometimes we have to pick a side between showing empathy to the officers and showing empathy to the people who desperately want to help. I don't know if that has to be at odds.
Speaking about context, aside from your tone of voice and the feeling behind the message, like, if you really think about it, another common goal is safety, right? And it's not really them or us, it's more like in general. It's dangerous if a civilian who doesn't know how to be in that situation when a cop and another civilian's wrestling, like that outside person, that could be really bad for them. They could get really hurt. But nobody realizes that because they're so fixated on filming what's happening because their idea is like, oh, something bad's gonna happen between this occurrence. But something bad could really happen to you because you're in the way. Now, on the flip side, they have every right to record, but again, it should be from at a distance. And like what Hardy said, you're not gonna see anything if I'm like this close in his face. You're basically just gonna see like skin. If you're from a distance, then at that point you can kind of see the bigger picture. So it's like, I think what he was trying to just bring up is he wants everybody to be safe, and considering what's been going on lately, using the example for guns, unfortunately, that's been a big issue. There are a lot of crime happening in New York City. Guns are the top thing that we've been talking about throughout the last 10 weeks, what you see in the news. And there's a lot of situations that people don't hear about. So you have to consider, we want to be safe at all times, but we also want you guys to be safe at all times. And sometimes being that third party, trying to look in, like, you're too close. Just take a step back, you know?
My father used to give my grandmother child support. He wouldn't be on time all the time with it, so my grandmother would ask me to go and get it. And when I would go and get it, I would bring it back to her. But this one time, I went and I took it for myself, and I never gave it to her. I told her, oh, he just missed it this week. So I took that money, and I went and I bought half an ounce of marijuana, and I bagged it up, and I thought I was going to be the man the next day, hustling. So I went to stay at my mother's house because I was not going to be around my grandmother when I had that. When I stood there, my mother had a boyfriend that she don't have anymore that was hustling. So when they came, when I went and stood over the next morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, there was a raid in the house. So when there was a raid in the house, I was there. I had a gun in my face. They were telling me to get on the ground, get the fuck on the ground.
She told me she was pregnant.
That's all I remember seeing.
We went to the doctor.
And when that happened
and
to me,
the doctor said
from that moment, I was scared. I didn't know
although
what
she's
to
pregnant,
do.
she's at risk of losing a baby.
When I didn't know what to do,
I was extremely nervous.
They were telling me to calm down, to be okay.
And a couple days later, she did lose the
boyfriend
baby.
is a bad man.
6
They
months
were
later,
telling me that if I knew
my wife got
him,
pregnant
if
again.
I knew anything about him,
and we lost the baby again.
I didn't know
Now
nothing
5
about
years
him, so I
passed,
couldn't give him the answer that they
and we
wanted.
can't get pregnant.
So
Cannot.
they brought me to the precinct, and when they brought me to the
God worked a
precinct,
miracle one day.
Everyone who cried this week, switch. Everyone who shared something intimate about themselves to somebody else this week, switch. Anyone who ever said fuck the police, switch. I'm back. What's the line? Everyone who has been kind to someone they did not know this week, move. Switch! Switch! Anyone who was extra mean to somebody this week, switch.
Everyone who has ever hurt someone that they love, switch.
Anyone who is afraid of theater and is here right now, switch. Anyone who had graham crackers and chocolate and milk, move. Switch! 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 Move. All right. Anybody who has had a come to Jesus manifestation or settlement of a relationship with a loved one, that y'all starting in one place, but y'all are in a much better place. Switch. Run.
Anyone who still sleeps with a stuffed animal, switch.
Deeper.
Yes.
Anyone who still has unresolved issues from this workshop, switch.
Everyone who has ever, even for a moment, hated themselves, switch.
Y'all really make me work this night. Anyone who had to come back to someone and apologize and or make amends to them for some fucked up shit you did, and they still fuck with you after that? Switch! Oh, it's okay.
say. To protect, serve, and understand. 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 Now, 1, 2, 3, go! U-N-I-T-Y. Get a cop hat. U-N-I-T-Y. Get a cop hat. U-N-I-T-Y. Get a cop hat. Hopefully this isn't where it stops at. Big up to the instructors and working on the structure of getting the cops and people talking to each other. I could call you my sister, I could call you my brother, and when it's done, I hope we keep in touch with each other. It begins with breaking bread and starting conversation, whether singing a song or going across the nation. I mean, talking about the nation. And don't worry, you can talk, this ain't an investigation. To protect, be served, and understood. Let me tell you, it hasn't been no good. Some rough situations, rough conversations, but don't worry, everybody's been patient. It's been 10 weeks that we've been through this, and I know that I'm real new to this, but it's okay, I kinda understand, cause I just seen how this thing going on. Look, if I get shot, I won't come back for the sequel, but the same goes for you, so your eyes I see through. So shout out, power to the people, and to my peeps in blue. TPSU, U-N-I-T-Y, U-N-I-T-Y, U-N-I-T-Y. Hopefully this isn't where it stops at.
The guys in the locker room, they're gonna crack their jokes. And you know what? I don't care. Let them have their fun. I'm all in.
This whole experience of getting to see the police outside of uniform as regular people, that was mesmerizing.
Yeah, I came in open-minded. It was kind of weird.
I expected, I don't know, like a fight to break out or something. I don't really know.
Wish there were more spaces to experience things like this.
And what happened is I had fun. I had absolutely a lot of fun with people that are civilians and police officers. And it's something new being in a group with totally different people than I would speak to on a regular daily basis. I can't wait to see what comes from this. I can't wait to see what happens, and I can't wait till we put up the show.
So I interviewed an officer, not someone who was here, a different NYPD officer. He's actually a sergeant. This is a guy born in the Dominican Republic, moved to Washington Heights when he was 14 years old, ended up in the U.S. Army, and then shortly after that became an NYPD officer. And we met in Times Square, which is where he was working. We had a nice conversation, and this is part of what he told me. I mean, my favorite thing about the job is that I get to help people. No, I do. I get to help people every day, and it's the best. You know, especially, you know, around here, because we get a lot of the, you know, the tourists, so they need a lot of help. But not so much the go F yourself crowd. They don't show up here as much. I mean, occasionally, you know, but no, I mean, it's true. People tell us to go F ourselves all the time. People will call us to their house with a problem and then tell us to go fuck ourselves. Now, you can't make this shit up. It's like you're gonna put yourself in danger and then you're gonna call the police and then you're gonna tell me to go F myself? People are wild. But if I was gonna clear up one, you know, misconception about the police, you know, I would want people to know that I'm not a RoboCop, you know? You know, he's not a RoboCop. Underneath this uniform, there's a person here, right? You know, like an IT guy, if he messes up, your phone doesn't work or your computer doesn't work. But if we mess up, you know, someone could get hurt. And that's a lot of pressure. But if I was, you know, suddenly in charge, if I was like, I don't know, like the mayor or something, I wouldn't tell people what to do. I would go out into the community and I would ask them, I would go to where the people are and I'd say, how are you doing? You know, what's going on? How can we help? How can we do better? And I do it without a camera, you know, because these politicians these days, everything's a photo op. But, you know, we've got these people in power, we've got these politicians, and they're making rules for regular people, but they don't talk to regular people.
I had the privilege to interview Alice. Alice is from Long Island, Great Neck, Long Island. She considers herself an old Russian, Norwegian, Jewish lady. I still think Alice got it going on. Alice is a writer, painter, dancer, just an evil genius with the pen. And I was very intimidated when I started asking my questions on how she's seen police matters. I enjoyed it. I brought it to the precinct. It was a good time. I had a great time with Alice. You are about to meet Alice. I'm an old Jewish woman. I'm not afraid of being stopped by the cops. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of being stopped by the cops. But my black friends, they're afraid. They tell me all the time. They think that it's not going to happen to them. They think that the stop is not going to happen to them. And when it does, they're shocked. They're shocked at just the harassment. They're afraid. They're afraid that when they talk to the cops, that they're nasty at times. They're afraid for their lives. Now, I actually support cops. I think that training should be good. I think that training should be helped with therapy. I think that training should be done over in the reform. I'm actually for cops. But when I saw, oh my God, when I saw that George Floyd, it was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. I mean, 9 minutes. 9 minutes. It's so heinous. And not just to say heinous, it was heinous. It was heinous. That I understand a fear, a threat, when you accidentally shoot someone. I understand that. I understand that. But 9 minutes, that was something that I cannot fathom that. I cannot wrap my head around that. Officer, please, tell your leadership, train, get some therapy, get some training for me, for Alice.
Freeze.
What'd you see? Yellow shirt.
Ears. Gray socks. Eyes.
Every detail, what do you see?
Black jeans.
Freeze! Justin, what do you see?
I see a yellow shirt. I see a shirt with brown and different colors. I see a black pants. I see sneakers. I see shoes. I see handshaking. I see long hair. I see really, really short hair. I see...
Milana, what do you see?
I see two individuals standing in front of each other, almost side to side. I see there appear to be two males from my distance. Can't be too sure.
What did you say, Milana? Say it again.
Excuse me?
Say the last part again.
I said there appear to be two males, but from my distance I can't be too
What do you
sure.
see? How do you know they're men?
Yes, they just appear to be two men.
So that story, just tell me what you see.
Two people. Tattoos, a watch. One has a watch in his left hand. His left
Great, Selena, what do you see?
I see two people. They look uncomfortable. They're shaking hands.
That story, what do you see? Tell me what you see.
It looks like they're looking at each other to see who has power.
Great, that's story, but what do you see? Just the details. Hardy, what do you see?
I see a light-skinned male with a light-skinned person with longish hair, with bluish eyes, with white around the blue in the eyes, with brownish mustache or hair by the nose.
Great, Suleisha, what do you see?
I see fingers, ears, eyes, nose, lips. Sadness.
Sadness is a story. What tells you there's sadness? What do you see?
Seems like the transaction that they had going on didn't go well.
That's the story you see. Great. What story do you see, Nick?
I see two men shaking hands. One is serious, the other I can't tell. It looks like the person who's wearing the yellow shirt is very stone cold and has a serious grip on the other fella. It looks like that person has power. He's wearing blue pants and some dress shoes, so he's about business. The other person, he's more casual.
Great. Jen, what do you see? What story do you see?
I see someone getting really bad news.
Really bad news. Interesting. Elle, what story do you see?
I see Ronnie is making a big sacrifice, is sealing a deal that is kind of paying a big price on his end.
Who has the power?
Frank.
Great. Suleisha, will you tap out Frank and take his place? Change spots in the circle.
Widen the circle.
Widen your circle. Freeze. Henry, what story do you see?
A really successful Tinder date.
All right, what tells you this? Why was this a success? What do you see?
That's a big, beautiful smile on Salicia's face. She's into it.
All right, interesting. From your angle, Frank, what do you see?
Ronnie is stoked. He cannot believe that he is lucking out this much. Like, when I can't see anything on Zulicia's face, so she could be grimacing. I have no idea.
Who has the power?
Zulicia does.
Justin, who has the power from your angle? Share your voice.
Ronnie looks like he has the power, but that hand is more like hi.
Selena, from your angle, what do you see?
I see two people like that are happy to see each other. I feel like they're comfortable and they know each other.
Who has the power?
Suleisha.
Great, one more. Danielle, tap Ronnie out. Take Ronnie's place. Awesome. What do you see from your angle, Ronnie?
Oh, somebody about to get their heart broken.
Somebody's about to get their heart broken?
It looks like a proposal, and Zulicia's about to say no.
Why do you think she's about to say no?
It just looks like she ain't ready, and this person is, and it's just, they're not together, there's no continuity there.
Hardy, what's happening from your angle? What story do you see?
Somebody's looking up to somebody else for advice, guidance.
Awesome. Milana, what about you? New story. What do you see?
I see Mother Mary and the baby Jesus.
Awesome. Well played. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you guys out here, what do you see? Just popcorn it. What do you see?
Watches.
Black tie.
Converse sneaker. Okay. What else?
Faces.
Faces. What story does this tell you?
New York.
New York. What about it says New York?
Diversity.
Diversity. Thank you. What other story do you see right here?
Success.
Success. What tells you success?
They've got a successful vibe about them.
Okay. Will you bring the officers to the caps, please? Okay, I'd just like you to hold your cap in your hand. Really take a look at it. I know you know it well. But I want you to look at it as if you're exploring it for the first time. Takes a bit of a leap of faith, but really look at it. What's inside it? What does the insignia mean? Even though you know it, is there anything that surprises you about it? We're not looking for any feelings, but if things come up, they come up. allow them to. I'm not trying to show anything. This is your exploration. Just look at that cap. When you're ready, and you've explored it fully, I just want you to put it on your head and stand there. What do you see?
Sacrifice.
Sorry?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. What else do you see? Police officers.
Service.
Service.
Honor.
Honor.
Pride.
Pride.
Power.
Power.
Formality.
Formality.
Uniform.
Uniform.
Cocktail.
Costume. Costume.
Costume.
Costume. Thank you. Sorry.
Attentiveness.
Attentiveness.
Institution.
Courage. Courage.
Impersonalization.
Personalization.
Impersonalization.
Impersonalization. Thank you. Okay. I would like you, some civilians, come up and take one of the hats. Officers, give the hats. Civilians. And just take a step back, officers. And I'd like you guys to just look at the hats. Explore the hat. Is there anything about it you didn't expect to see? What might surprise you? What intrigues you? Holding it in your hand, what does it mean to you? Would anybody like to come up and look at the hats? Come on. Do you have a hat for
Right
Sue?
here.
Just explore that hat. You want to come up here? Right here. Hat for. Good. Stand there. Turn around. Just look at that hat. And if you're ready, when you're ready, put the hat on your head. And if you guys in the back would help them wear the hats the proper way. So they're wearing the hat instead of the hat's wearing them. Now, I ask you again, what do you see? Yes?
I see the hat pulled down so far over their eyes that a lot of their face is covered.
Okay.
Discomfort.
Discomfort.
Fear.
Fear.
Impersonation.
Impersonation. All right, take the hats off. Please stay there for a second. What came up for any of you? Officers, come on and stand in the line with everybody else.
Fear.
Fear.
Well, this is my son, so. I felt what my parents felt.
What was that?
My baby out here. About to go attack me. I felt what my parents felt. My child is out there. I hope he does well, but that's what I felt. I felt fear. I felt fear.
Any other officers? What did you feel when you put the hat on? What did you discover about the hat? Yes, Selena.
Legacy.
Legacy.
Mm-hmm. I'm wearing my dad's shoe. So before me, it was him. And he gave that to me. I wear his my family, and they see who I represent, because even though it's my last name on it, they're also my family.
Justin, what do you feel?
A sense of weight, like heavy weight on top, like a lot of carry. Being a cop, keeping my head up high, my chin up, just a lot of weight.
Frank?
The discomfort that someone had mentioned, felt like I was an imposter in someone else's shoes. Also felt like a tacit approval of a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily agree with.
Henry?
It's heavy, but it's worth it. There's self-respect, honor.
You share your voice a little bit?
There's self-respect, there's honor, there's something to strive for, and it makes me proud to wear it.
Jen?
For me, it's a lot the same like Selena, because I also wear my father's shield number. And I love him so much. So I feel that way, that I want to make him proud.
Danielle?
I feel inauthentic because I feel like throughout this program I've learned to have a bit more respect for the cops, but at the same time a lot of my moral views haven't changed, and so I do still feel a sense of fear and rebellion towards cops. So wearing a cop hat made me feel not me.
Sulation?
Achievement, honor, and privilege.
Sir? Sorry.
I'm Rowan. I felt support. I felt like Zalation was going to help me wear this the right way, and that like, there were people who were going to look after me if I was.
Helen?
I felt like part of me is being put on a brace.
Sorry, Ellen.
Oh,
Show your voice, please. Hold this way.
I felt restricted in that part of me feels like I need to be a show person. Only a part of me can be presented up front, and a part of me gets locked in the back.
Yeah.
Pride, integrity, morality.
Xavier, sorry. Drop your voice.
Pride and fear.
What was the fear about? Risking your life. Thank you.
Anthony. Go. Anthony, what is there left to say?
In context to what?
Anthony, what is there left to say?
Until we as a company, as a country, come to a realization and a reconciling of a sexist, racist history, we will continue to be in a cycle of trying to put Band-Aids on a wound that needs air. I'm reminded this week of our most recent Supreme Court Justice nominee. And the questions that are coming out of these old white men's mouth are egregious on a level that I would liken it unto McCarthyism. Lindsey Graham asked her, "Do you go to church, nigga? I mean, sir, who cares if she's supposed to be separated from church and state? Who cares if she goes to church?" When you had a whole white man here a few years ago who was known to be out here just doing his due. And y'all patting him on the back, y'all trying to push this man through. He had a whole woman come and talk about how crazy he was. And they was like, go ahead. Now we have a black woman who is overly qualified, which is another conversation we need to have about the fact that people of color have to even be more than our light-skinned brothers and sisters counterpart. That's another conversation. But That woman has a resume that most people would never even have in 100 years of practice in law.
Suleisha, what has been a challenge for you?
To sing.
What else has been a challenge for you?
To be alone.
What else in this work has been a challenge for you?
To be real with everyone else.
L, what questions do you still have for the officers?
What does reconciliation look like?
2 more questions.
Oh, for me?
Go.
What do you want from your community that you work at? And what brings you peace?
Ronnie, what's next? Where do we go from here?
We develop understanding with the community, with the police department, with civilians.
Danielle, what's something people wouldn't know about you just by looking at you?
I'm autistic. I have ADHD. I'm gay. Very gay. Scratch that. Everybody would know that about me. And I also can do the bridge.
Thank
and
you.
I can walk in that position.
Harvey, what do you need in this moment?
Music.
What else?
People to have a greater understanding of how we can use communication to have a much better time in life and to understand each other way better.
Justin, who are you?
Okay, God.
Justin asked, who are you?
I know. I hear you, God. I am a young Latino Puerto Rican just trying to survive in America.
Thank you. You can go sit down. Thank you.
Make sure you do it right. Make sure you do it right. Okay, thank you. Hi, how can I help you?
My name's J-Lo.
Hi, J-Lo. Tell me, girl.
I came here because I wanted to take a picture with you. I heard you are the sexiest officer in this precinct.
That is
Do
true.
you mind? Stand up, because you know.
That's a good side. That's a good
Which
side.
one's the good side?
Both sides are good.
Oh. Thank you.
Here you go. Go, guy.
Sir, I think the baby will come out.
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know the things coming out? Stage picture. Let's see.
I feel it like.
What do you feel?
I feel it.
You've been feeling this for 9 months.
Exactly. You just can't make it so.
Okay, yes. So this will be. So listen, I'll walk you over here.
Please.
Come on, let's go.
What was your name? You're so sweet.
Big Daddy Longstrokes. We
Oh,
make it
you
too
could be the
baby.
godfather.
We make it too baby though.
Okay, come on.
Okay, let's go. That building.
Oh, Lottie. Hi, how you doing?
Top of the morning to you.
Here's up for the hey. Listen, I come here to report something.
Okay.
These hooligans the other day, they came and they stole my pot of gold and they jostled me Lucky Charms. You didn't do anything to help me.
You know they sell that cereal right in the bodega right next door. They sell that cereal. It's right there. It's at the bodega next door. Just go next door and get your Lucky Charms back.
But I'm here right now. Why can't you help me?
Because they right there.
Say yes.
Oh, I can't. You know what? Take my EBT card. My girlfriend, she got a good chunk on it. You can buy the whole roll. Just bring back my card.
Get some Lucky Charms.
Magically delicious.
Officer! I need help.
Okay.
Officer,
Yes, ma'am.
can you please help me?
Okay. How do you want me to help you, ma'am?
My husband. He's home. He raped me. My husband.
Hear your voices.
Okay. Oh, okay.
My
Okay.
husband.
Yes.
He's home.
He's home.
He just raped me.
Okay. So we have.
I need help. He's home right
Okay,
now.
ma'am.
Yes.
I know that you are frantic now.
Okay.
And you have experience trauma.
I'm listening.
Just give me a second. And I will tell you
A
what's
second. He's home right now.
He's not here.
All right. So send
You're
an officer.
saying-
Send an
No.
officer.
We'll worry about him later.
Okay.
We have to take care of you now.
All right. What do you want me
We're
to do
going
right
to call
now?
the ambulance and we're going to get you
An
a
ambulance for what?
Because you have to go to the hospital.
Ay, Dios mío. Mi mamá. No sé, mi mami. Policía. Policía.
Stop.
Ayuda, please.
I married a hot Latin woman. I don't even know what she's saying half the time. I don't know what she's saying half the time. She just want to come to the police station. So I'm
Policía,
going.
ayúdame.
Something about her mother-in-law. Something about her mother-in-law. I don't know. She was pretty. I married her. I really don't have My man, you need to speak Spanish with this?
How do you know how to... I have questions about how...
We leave it? All right, we leave it.
Adios. Buenas noches.
Hey, Craig!
Hey.
Craig! I ain't gonna steal it, Craig. I ain't gonna steal it this time, but can I borrow your silver baby?
You can buy my
One
silver
more
baby.
time. Thank you.
I got you. Just bring it back tomorrow.
Hey, how long is the wait right now? What are you looking at, like 45 an hour?
The wait for what?
I need to get my picture taken. I need a new driver's license.
Oh, you want the DMV?
Yeah, this is the DMV.
No, this is the precinct.
What's the difference?
Department of Motor Vehicles?
Yeah.
And this is the police precinct.
Oh, that makes sense with the hat now.
See, you so smart.
Where's the DMV?
Around the corner.
Thanks, bro.
Please. They'll just keep coming. They just keep coming.
About issue.
Okay.
Dave Victor.
I need to get my car in the driveway. But somebody's blocking my driveway with their car. I need help. Officer. Yeah. Wait, so you walk from wherever you live? My house is next door. Wait a minute. Do you know whose car it is? I have no clue. But they're blocking my driveway. They're not, I guess, in your house. No, they're not. What are you gonna do? You back up the best way you know how, and you hit the you just hit it. That's it? That's it.
Thanks.
Bye. Go with God.
Oh, Jesus.
Did you find your lucky charms?
me?
Did you find your lucky charms?
I found my Lucky Charms and I found something worse. My wife, she's having a baby. Oh my God.
It's heavy.
Baby, it's okay. Baby, it's okay.
Well, here now.
Keep the Lucky Charms in there for a second.
All right.
Can you help us, officer?
Hello. Wait,
I told you we should have went to the fire department.
I was out of touch. Wasn't that I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Out here, I was out of touch. It wasn't that I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy?
It's weird for the first time. I feel like I need to take a break. Like, get a stiff drink or something. Damn.
It was really hard because she was sitting down and she was eating. So it's hard to mimic somebody who's eating and laying in their bed while you stand up and try to become their character. But what I do think was interesting is just hearing how she talked about a lot of the experiences that she had and how she felt during those experiences.
So the officer that I interviewed, he was sitting in a very, I don't know how you would describe it, like a boxy position, like very chest forward, broad shouldered. I honestly can't recall if he was like particularly muscular, if that was just the way that he was sitting. But in inhabiting that, what I realized was like, oh, this is like an important thing for an officer to do, to like appear physically tough or authoritative.
So when you walk around in their shoes, their cadence, the tempo, how they speak, how they pause was something I was really focusing on.
Very interesting because it's someone who's the total opposite of me. So just stepping into that character, it's difficult.
Halfway through the workshop process, we asked everybody to go off and interview the other. The police officers interviewed civilians who were not part of the workshop, and vice versa. What we're going to show you now is sort of an unrelated conversation of the people they interviewed. I'll help you find them again. It's been a while. So just sit there, nice and easy, with your eyes closed. Just focus on your breath. See that person that you interviewed behind your closed eyes. See as much of them, many of you met them on Zoom. So see that part of them. Some of you met them in person. See their whole body. And as you exhale, just sit out, little siblings. Going back to that. I want you to think the name of that person into the soles of your feet. Almost as if it's a psychoelectronic impulse. Just think the name. Don't do anything else. Think that name to your ankles, to your lower leg. And while that's going up and down your leg, if you can think of one psychological gesture that identified would help us know who this person was. Let me see that gesture now. Go to neutral. Thinking that name into your leg. You go to the gesture, that'll be gesture one. neutral. Now think that name into your stomach. Think the name into your chest. Find a second psychological gesture that you can add on. Look to it now. Gesture number 2. Let's see gesture number 1. Gesture number 2. And nice and neutral. Go back to breathing. Think that name into your neck. If your body responds to it, that's fine, but you don't have to try to do anything. Think the name into the back of your neck and down your spine. We see gesture number 3. Go. Gesture number 1. Gesture number 3. Gesture number 2. Breathe. Nice and easy. Think that name all through your body, all through your bloodstream. It's just coursing. It's just the name. Hear their voice in your head. So when I tap you on the shoulder, or when Rivka taps you on the shoulder, let them come out. Let their words come out. Of course, you can open your eyes when you're talking. When you get tapped the second time, just go back to being quiet. Share your voice.
Ease, volunteering, and when I came home, I had no idea what the heck I want to do with my life. So I was wondering if there's anything that I could do on a local level that has some correspondence with what I was doing in the Philippines. And I thought police might be one of those things. And it was the Peace Corps, the U.S. Peace Corps. It came to me on the run. I just had the idea, looked up.
I'm a Brooklyn guy, through and through. Music is my love, art, passion. And I never really had a problem with this. Never really had a problem with this. But I've seen friends and family, they've had moments.
Becoming a cop wasn't my first plan. It was sort of my plan B. My father told me to take the process test, and I was taking the process test, and I really got into it. I wanted to become a reporter. I worked at Fox News.
I'm from Brooklyn originally. During the pandemic, I had to move 2 times. Once was because of my disability, and the second time was because of discrimination. People look at me differently because of my orientation.
Yeah, I work for transit, and I'll tell you a crazy story. One time this guy was trying to kill himself, and I was going up the stairs, and I saw safety, and I saw the transit workers. And I mean, when I got upstairs, I said, what guy? I only seen one guy. They're like, that's the guy. I mean, when the guy seen me.
Well, as a law-abiding citizen, I do believe that the police are there to protect and serve. Like they're this invisible shield that's around us. But I have a problem with the police. Actually, 2 problems. One, I'm walking by you. Can't you just say hi? What? Why can't you just say hi to me?
Hi, my name is Christine Guillen. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I currently still live where I was born. Brooklyn houses. You look familiar. Yes, I used to work at the clinic over there by 105.
I was born in Brooklyn, but I was fortunate enough to have my dad, who was also a cop, move us up to Westchester, upstate New York, where once I became a cop, I moved down to the community, right to the precinct.
So, I'm an aspiring actress and singer, and, you know, I haven't been arrested since like 2017, and I've been trying to stay out of trouble. I've been doing my very best. I've changed my life, and I'm proud of it. You know, I don't have ill feelings for the police.
So, during that time when I moved to the Lower East Side with my mother. And I'm not against the police, but I did have to call the police for a situation that happened with my mother. And when they came, they were rude to me.
Cops are good people. You know, like, we're in touch with reality. You know, this one time I arrested this kid. He went under the turnstile. He was a nice kid. He must have been a college kid, probably going to class. And I arrested him because back then it was about the numbers.
I'm from Great Neck, Long Island, and when I grew up, it was all Russian Jews, but now it's everywhere.
Another thing, I was dating this guy and things were not going in the way that you want them to go, so I broke up with him. He kept
And
calling
I
me.
remember that day.
Communication is
I was
key.
going to a rally,
You just
and
can't
there were
be
so
yelling
many
at each other like
officers.
you're yelling at your baby mama or
The
something.
way they wanted to shut it down, it was incredible. Why so many? Why so many? That was traumatizing. Why the cops there?
He was really trying to hurt himself. He was really trying to hurt
Every time I trap.
And stand up. Psychological gesture 1, 2, 3. Kurt, thank you.
Selena! What are you deeply afraid of?
I'm deeply afraid of heights.
What else?
I'm deeply afraid of not being able to provide.
What else?
I'm also deeply afraid to not give my all to the people that I love and I care about, and I cut them short.
Henry. What have you learned going through this workshop?
You have to be able to receive and give at the same time. You have to be able to mirror someone's emotions, see what they're giving you, learn from it, and then respond in kind. That way you both have a good understanding of where you're both coming from.
What are you still challenged with from this workshop?
The food, there needs to be more food. The food is fantastic.
What else? What questions are you still wrestling with?
Questions I'm wrestling with, just like it was the WWE, would be finding a duality, finding yourself on both sides of the mark, trying to see where you come from as a cop and where you come from as a civilian, and to try and find that merge so you can better interact with the community around you. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's easy, but it's just reaching forward for it. You have to really work on it.
Milana. Name 7 ways to fight oppression. Go.
Eat. Don't get depressed. Take care of other people. Love your family. Love your cousins. Love everybody in the world. Vote for world peace. Economic empowerment. How many more I got left? 20. Okay. Take care of your mother.
Frank. Frank. Why are you here?
Because you asked me to do it.
Why are you here?
Because I want to understand, I want to understand where my brother is a police officer. I want to understand where police officers are coming from.
Why else are you here?
Because I want to fucking help. I want to make a difference. I want to like be a part of the conversation. I don't want to just sit idly by and not do anything. I want to, you know, have the opportunity to meet these people and have whatever influence it is that I am going to have.
Jen. What dualities do you struggle with?
Dualities that I struggle with. One is appearing the way that I look and going out into the world and then people finding out I'm a police officer. Most people take a look at me and they think kindergarten teacher. And then dealing with their reaction to when they find out I'm a police officer, it being Sometimes negative, sometimes positive, a lot of times worried. Another duality that I have, we had talked about our hats, and Anthony had brought up this thing about our emblem, and the New York emblem, that has a white dude and an American Indian. And that's me. I am the daughter of an American Indian and a really nice white lady. And kind of just walking through life, having, you know, these two different identities that don't necessarily go together, right? Like my mom's Italian, so Thanksgiving, Columbus Day, it's all a struggle. It's the different dualities that I have. 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 It's 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 different dualities that I have. So how do I work with that? I mean, mostly I present as just a white girl, right? But sometimes there's that thing where I try to feel like, well, I'm American Indian. And the first question I get is, well, what percent? Who do you think you are, Elizabeth Warren? 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 I'm just somebody who wants to be proud of who I am. I want to be able to tell people I'm indigenous, I'm Italian, I'm German, I'm a strong woman. I was raised by an amazing family. I'm about to marry an amazing man next month. And that is crazy. So that's my dualities. 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 That's
Reminisce upon Helene, my childhood bestie. I am reminded of that day on Kosciuszko Street. All we wanted was some blocks so we could bake sneeze, so when they see us, they will think that we had boogies on our sleeves, and so we left the block, ran up the street. Royal Crown Supermarket where Mama bought the groceries. I put the quarter in the green blob and she knew it was a turning point, a foreshadowing of future things, and so we had to leave. Back to Kosciuszko Street, Helene had a friend who came across the street, started talking. Me and Paula started walking slowly. We had to get back to the block so they wouldn't notice anything. Come on, Helene, midway to Kosciuszko Street. Check the street, clear, clean, time to cross, come on, Helene. I turned around and saw the district machine and it was eating. The boy stopped my auntie Nene up above me. Helene across the street! I caught a glimpse of her face, turned right to Bishop King and King was passing by. Helene was nowhere in the fight. I heard a thump, 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 plop. The bishop tried to spit my bestie out from underneath the pump. It wasn't nothing right, and everything was wrong. But I could still hear her favorite song go, go, it 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 goes, 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 it goes.
I never felt so confident around a group of people that I never met in the past.
Yeah, of course it changed my mind. And my perception has changed.
There has been growth, but as far as a mind change or paradigm shifting, no, there hasn't been, because I believe I came in even keeled, pretty much balanced, and for the most part, I believe I still am.
50-50. I've changed my mind on some things. On the other end, it's just giving clarification.
Also, hearing people's stories and hearing them talk about their interactions with police and how they feel or how the police make them feel, that makes me sad.
It was nice to hear a lot of people say to me specifically that they would trust me and that they would feel comfortable with me. But I know that once the uniform was on, if they didn't know me from this program or came into the first precinct and had to deal with me, they might not be feeling as friendly and as nice. I mean, the pain.
These are memories of this program that were recorded by people each night after a workshop. So it's really interesting to relive them again, hear those first responses to the various weeks. We're going to do our most experimental part of the program tonight. This is something that we only do with really experienced improvisers, because nothing might happen. All you've got to do is sit there with your eyes closed, hands on your thighs, ready to go. But if nothing happens, nothing happens. I'm good with that. As soon as you get an impulse to do something, you do it. It happens in this space. This is called Excursions into the Intuitive. So start to breathe. And when you're not in the space, you return to your chair and you breathe. Keep your eyes open. Nice soft gaze in the center of the space. Exhale on that sound. And I'm going to give you a prompt tonight. Your theme is freedom.
And justice for all! 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm unapologetically black and unashamedly Christian, while concurrently unashamedly black and unapologetically Christian, while at the same time unapologetically and unashamedly blue. I make no apology for the apology that I apologize.
1, 2, 3.
So, y'all see this on my leg, right? And something happened earlier today that I would normally have a little scooter. And so this is my first time running this just like this, leaving my house and coming here. So I've been nervous all night. I've been nervous all night. And I've been
This
wondering
guy
about...
always got a story to tell y'all, but this is my brother right here, and we love him.
Thank you. I am nervous,
We love him so much.
but they support me. And I'm very grateful. And I'm sweating.
I don't know if you got that boot, but Puerto Rico Julio, he sound like 2 for 5 around the way. You see the action.
Give me money, Ray.
All right.
Freedom right now on every level, not even just with NYPD, is under so much stress and tension that we need to start talking as a community to make sure that we maintain our freedoms locally. That's really what I think we need to do. Yes, we don't do it. We don't talk. We don't talk to anybody. We just talk without listening. When people come up to it, they don't listen. We're not going to get anywhere.
My question is freedom in the eye of the beholder?
That's a rhetorical question as well. I want the freedom to sing one more time. Very short. Just give me a minute. You've got to remember the love. You know that love is a gift from up above. Share love, give love, spread your love. Measure your life in love. Sanctuary. Sit down.
Freedom.
Sit down.
Good morning, evening, friends. With your free announcer. I've got serious news to share with everybody. What I'm about to say will be the disaster. Return the joy to laughter and hear me when I say love's in need of love today.
Wait, hey, let me borrow you one more time. Borrow you one more time.
You have to pay me.
That's all right, because you're gonna pay with your voice for all the mothers that when they see their officers go out, the pain that they feel. Give them some. Give them some.
Long ago, and oh so far away,
I fell in love with you before the second show. I'm gonna try to sing too.
and your guitar is shouting but you're not here. The radio. Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby? You said you'd be coming back, just waiting, baby.
Help 'em out.
Baby, 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 oh baby, I love you. I really do.
I tried, baby. I tried. My mama here, that's my name. $5. $5. Photo is $5.
Get in the photo.
I did the photo for free.
You want to take a picture with Batman? Take a picture with Batman. You got my house? No, Batman.
Where's your dad?
Sides for free.
Oh, that's
Back deep breath. Go back deep breath on the sides.
Y'all look like the firm of getting out of jail for free.
Dial 199999.
lights out tonight. Trouble in the heartland, got a head-on collision. Smashing in my guts, man, I'm caught in a crossfire that I don't understand. But there's one thing I know for sure.
I don't give a damn for the same old played out scenes. Baby, I don't give a damn for just the in-betweens. Honey, I want the heart, I want the soul, I want control right now. You better listen to me, baby.
Talk about a dream, try to make it real. You wake up in the night with a fear so real. You spend your life waiting for a moment that just won't come. Well, don't waste your time away. Badly, you gotta live it every day. That's the broken heart stand. That's the price you gotta pay. Keep pushing to the understood, and these bad legs are treating us good. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bad legs, you gotta live it every day. That's the broken heart stand. That's the price you gotta pay. Keep pushing to the understood, and these bad legs are treating us good. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bad legs. 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 Whoa, 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 whoa. Bad legs.
So, there's a lot of people to thank, first of all. My two collaborators in this project, Mr. Rivera. Our crew, Elena and Emily and Nikki and anyway, we never really had a chance to introduce you guys. So why don't you all just tell us your names and what you do, and where you're from? Pass this around. Danielle?
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm from Brooklyn.
Hello, my name is Anthony P. McGlone. I hail from the wonderful city of Detroit, Michigan. I'm a classically trained opera singer, but I specialize in the repertoire of black composers and black authors, and presenting that kind of repertoire with intersectionality amongst all the things, but mostly to just promote the music of black composers and writers that's not been promoted before.
That's a tough one to follow up on. My name is Henry. I'm a police officer. I work in East Harlem. Born in Brooklyn, live in Queens. I am not Spider-Man, although I would like to be. And it's been a wonderful time here. I'm happy you guys came. Thank you, everyone.
I'm Frank. I'm from New Jersey, and I live in Brooklyn now, and I am a news and politics podcast producer.
I am the Reverend Officer Nakia Owen Morgan, police officer here in Brooklyn, New York, for New York City and Brooklyn, New York, and executive and youth pastor in Queens Village.
I'm Jennifer Williams. I'm a police officer at the 1st Precinct, and I'm from Staten Island.
Hi guys, my name is Selena Solardi. I'm also a police officer. I work for the 114 in Astoria. I am also from Queens.
Hi, my name is Elle. I'm from Shanghai, China. I had a career facilitating theater workshops in prisons, and now I'm on sabbatical researching into different performances and how it can enhance our well-being.
I'm Hardy Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I help people live authentic lives in an inauthentic world. I'm a life coach.
Hi, my name is Milana Randall, also known as Money Flowing. I am the founder of Randall Elite Entertainment and Performing Artists, LLC. I'm originally from Brooklyn. I do events in Harlem.
My name is Ronald Modesto Maldonado Burke. I'm a 19-year veteran at NYPD. I'm also part of the chaplain corps with the U.S. Army, and I'm pretty much the most scaredest guy to be here.
Good evening. My name is Felicia Redford, born and raised in Puerto Rico, and happy to represent the NYPD.
My name is Justin Rodriguez. I'm an actor, teacher. Also, I work hard, y'all. And that's it. I'm from the Lower East Side, Manhattan.
And I just wanted to take a moment to actually introduce the band, The Conversation. That's the name of the band. I know you didn't know that. By name. On piano, we have Grant Richards. And on bass, we have Ethan Startzman. And on drums, the mighty Hollis Hedrick, otherwise known as Slim Daddy Crash.
So I'm sure you've got questions. We'd love to hear from you. You heard from us for the past hour and a half or so. Now it's your turn. Ask questions of our team here, of facilitators, anything you want to know about this process, or questions you still have that came up from the show. Anybody?
We don't bite.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I'd like to ask a burning question about policing in New York. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Did the NYPD relax its enforcement, and is that partly attributable to the crime wave? Well, what crime we've experienced?
You gotta say it again.
Did they relax their enforcement? The NYPD relaxed its enforcement, and is that attributable to the crime rate?
No. No, we didn't. It's the DA that relaxed their prosecution. Officers make arrests, the DA... It's for the live stream, yes. No, we haven't. Well, at least in my area, we hit it hard. We go and get it every day. But the prosecution, the DA, they're relaxed. The things that we normally make arrests for, they're declining to prosecute. So officers, we make arrests. The DA, they prosecute cases. We do our part, but right now, they're using a lot of discretionary prosecution right now. So what normally was a crime when I was started in 2004 is no longer that because of the leadership in the district attorney's office. And it's very frustrating on the officers. It's very frustrating on the people that we serve, because when we make arrests and it's declined, not on the fault of the officer, not on the fault of the complainant, but just because the ADA doesn't want to press the charges, it is now frustrating. The personnel as well are frustrated. It's not just the cops. The ADAs that do try cases, they're frustrated as well with their leadership. So it's a leadership issue right now. You with that? You with that, brother?
Anybody else? Yes. Oh.
Are there different police officers in each state?
Are there different police officers in each state?
Only police can answer that question.
No, anybody can answer that question.
I'm from Detroit. The Detroit police have a different kind of swagger. I went to college in Atlanta, Georgia. In Atlanta, it was way. Sorry. I'm from Detroit originally. I went to college in the South in the late 90s, right at the end of Freaknik, and those police officers had just got off the tail end of the Olympics. And then I decided I wanted to come bring my wild, crazy self to Atlanta, Georgia. And my interaction with the police in Atlanta, Georgia is the reason why I said, fuck the police. And then I went to graduate school in Iowa, and they were bewildered police because they weren't used to dealing with black people. So, yes, sir. Oh, the little boy, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm swearing. There are different police everywhere. You're welcome. Questions? Yes.
What is the biggest law enforcement challenge you see in this community?
Who wants to take that one?
Is there someone, another officer who wants to take it, or is Ronnie taking it?
No, take it. No, I'll back you up. Thank you. That's my partner right there. 12 years strong. The hardship with officers in the community is being a bridge between the community and the law enforcement community. That's at least in my subjective viewpoint or vantage point. It's being that bridge between the community in which we serve and the law enforcement community, because there's a heavy tension there. We see the tension, we know the tension, and sometimes it's not spoken, but it's felt.
I think it's education. When I grew up, we had the DARE program. Cops came to the school. It was almost like a civics course. Your patrolman almost had to be the law professor in the school talking to little kids like this, saying, hey, don't do this, don't do that, here's your safety tips. And they took that away. They took a lot of the programs, the PAL programs when I was a kid. It's like the first thing they do is they take the money from the youth in the community. When I was a kid in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, funny, man, these Italian cops, it looked like they was just kidnapping black kids in the neighborhood, right? And all they did was they put us in a van and they just took us to PAL for like 4 hours. We had baseball gloves, we had t-shirts, we didn't pay for nothing. And the whole rationale, they brought us back late every day, but the rationale to the parents was, you want them in a basketball court, in the field, or you want them in the streets? And the education is what we got from being around those officers, those little conversations that they had. It's priceless. You can't put a dollar amount on it, and they took that dollar away. So education, I would say, is very vital. It's a challenge, because if I can prevent certain things by just talking to a young lady, a young man, then that will serve a vital service to the community.
Well, first I want to start by saying congratulations. You guys did wonderful. I'm an alum of TPSU. I served 2 times. So I understand quite what you guys were dealing with standing in front of this audience, this great audience. But I do have a question. Duality was something that was mentioned this evening. And to each of you, I would like to know exactly how would you take that term and use it to bring community of change?
How would you take the term duality and use it to bring about a community of change?
The way that I've used it since being in this program is that in my interactions with the cops, I've actually changed the way that I communicate to them, and I've started asking questions and making sure that what I'm doing when they say something to me is repeating back to them what I think they said. And then I've also talked to the cops in my neighborhood, the sergeant and the one cop that I'm friends with, and talked about the program. And they've been very interested about how do we bridge that communication. And I think the duality of lack of communication is to be more active listeners and to actually wait before you start thinking about your answer. Because most people that I run into when I'm having a conversations with them, within the first 3 or 5 seconds, they've already answered what I'm gonna say. And let me tell you, I can talk. And a lot of times it takes a lot longer than that for me to say what I wanna say.
Yes.
This is a question to the cops, police officers. What do you need to decompress?
I'm going to give that one to Henry. Where's Henry?
Decompress. That's a good one. Wow, that's actually a really deep one too. So, I work in East Harlem. It's the centerpiece right now of a lot of gun violence, of a lot of community violence. It's not a day I go, it's not a week I go that I see a shooting, I see a stabbing, I see someone in front of me begging for help or who needs help. Trying to go home at the end of the day and decompress from that so you can come back the next day and do it all over again. It's difficult, but I have my mother in the corner over there who's gonna hide now. I have the wonderful guys and ladies and everyone at the 2-5 precinct, and even in East Harlem, some of the people here, Michael David, a couple of the other ones, come from the neighborhood. And when you see a friendly face in the street, even if you're just walking your beat, or on a foot post, or in a car, and you see friendly people who stop and say, hey, how are you doing? How's everything going with you? How's your day going? It helps with that decompression. It helps letting some of the heavier jobs go and knowing that I'm making a difference and doing something.
If you could give one piece of advice to police officers joining the department that will help them succeed, what would it be and why?
If you can give one piece of advice to police officers joining the department, what would it be and why, Jen?
Make sure that this is something you really, really, really want to do. Because you can't, well, number one, you shouldn't be in it for money because then you're not very good at math, you don't make much. You do get good health benefits, so that's something. But if you don't have it in your heart to want to get up every day and help people and be able to see some of the things that we see and keep going, you're not gonna make it, it's not gonna be worth it for you, and you're gonna get jaded. And I remember when I started as a civilian in the police department. I was a police administrative aide, and I walk in like myself, and I'm smiling like ear to ear, like I always do, because I have resting smile face. And they told me, yeah, that's gonna turn upside down pretty soon. This job is going to make you miserable. The same conversation happened when I'm a cop now, and I walk into the 1st precinct, which is not a bad command. It's Tribeca, it's Lower Manhattan. I was told the exact same thing. Because this job can take a lot away from you, from what you see and what you deal with every day, but you can never let that change who you are. And the moment that this job changes who I am, I know I'm done with it, and you have to know that for yourself. So if you're going into it, you can't go into it thinking it's gonna be the most wonderful thing. You're gonna have really hard days. But then you're also gonna have really wonderful days, and you're gonna have an interaction with somebody that was absolutely amazing, and it's gonna stick with you for the next 3 weeks. Even though you're dealing with this and that, it's gonna get you through it. So you can't just think of it as, like little kids, like, oh, I just wanna catch the bad guys and help the good guys. There's real boots to the ground. There's a lot of hard, tough work that comes with it, and as long as you're willing to do that, you're willing to give up your holidays, you're willing to give up your weekends, you're willing to miss your kid's 1st birthday because there was a shooting in your precinct, so now it's round the clock, everyone's gotta be there. You have to go in eyes wide open. You have to go in there really wanting to do this work, because if you don't really want to do this work, I don't want you in the job next to me. because then you're not going to do the job the way it deserves to be done, the way that the community deserves the job to be done, and it's going to cause a problem for everybody else. So.
This gentleman right here.
Take a couple more questions.
Yeah. Stand up and speak, man. Come on. What's up?
I don't need.
It's for the live stream.
Yeah. Oh, it's for the live stream. All right. For the live stream. To my fellow citizens, I'm sorry, this question is for the cops again. I've never had this forum to be able to ask this question, and I've had this hypothesis for a very long time, so please speak from your heart. Do you feel as if you are being asked to do too much? And if you could remove one aspect of your role, what would it be?
What?
I'm from two worlds. I'm from the military world. I'm from the law enforcement world. In the military, we train all day hoping there's a war. In the police world, we're in the war all day, and we don't train at all. What I would like is the opportunity for more training, for more roundabout training. Because when they take money away from the training minimizes mistakes. When I started as a young rookie, I was an actor in the TAC house, and we would act like the perps. It was a place where an officer could safely make a mistake, and we could end the scenario. So, to your question is that I would like more training, time to train, literally time to train. Not like go out there and fight, because that's how you get the frustration. That's why her question was, what are the services? Time for therapy, time for training, and then time for law instruction. Cops are afraid to make a mistake because our mistakes are costly. Our mistakes end in death. So when you give us time to erase those mistakes and minimize those mistakes, then you get a better officer. You get a better officer who could be an asshole one day, and then he takes a sensitivity class, like, oh shit, I was an asshole. You know what I mean? And they learn these things for these little tool belts. So I would like opportunity to train. Y'all took that money out, put that money back in the training so we can not make mistakes anymore, or at least minimize the mistakes.
One last question right here.
Yeah.
I'll just talk really loud. I'll just talk really loud.
Go for it.
How much of the job is pretending to care about small infractions that don't really matter that much to you? Like, does it actually bother you if someone's like jumping the turnstile, or do you have to just kind of give them, do the job? And is there any parts of it where your values aren't necessarily aligning with the law?
And maybe a cop that hasn't spoken yet, perhaps? Maybe?
Yeah.
You can do it in one sentence if you want.
What I will say is, if you violating the law, we just have to enforce it. Do we use discretion? Yes, we can. But if there's a violation that's being committed in our presence, we just have a job to do. It's not that we're being forced to do it, but we have the discretion to take enforcement.
Okay, we'll take 1, 2, and then that'll be it.
Unless y'all want to stay all night. That's fine with us.
So, I actually saw how you reacted to that question. It seemed like you were a little frustrated or upset about it. So my question is, how do you separate your professional life wearing the badge and your personal emotions and whatever it is you're feeling that day when you wake up? Say, for instance, your mom passed or something like that. How do you go into the job wearing that badge, knowing the situation that you just went through in the morning? Like, you seem frustrated, so that's why I'm asking. Like, it seemed like you got frustrated by her question. So, how do you separate your personal life from your professional life?
I am actually not frustrated. This is just who I am. That's just my personality. I apologize. But I am who I am at work, at home. I don't bring my personal life at work. I do trust one person at work, which is my supervisor. And I'm the type of person that when I'm at work, I just love to share my energy. And what comes out of me is positivity all the way.
Last, yes. Yes, you can.
We're people at the end of the day. Like, we're human. Thank you. Aw. What I meant to say, though, is that at the end of the day, like, we're people, and real things do happen to us, you know? So the minute we clock in or we scan in, unfortunately, like, you gotta put everything behind you. Whether your mother passed, or you're having a bad day, or there were things that were unsaid, regardless of how you're feeling, if you're hurting, if you're physically hurting, you know, like, we all have bad days, but as police officers, we gotta put that away for you guys, because you guys call us for help. You guys are the ones that are panicking and are hurting and are needing assistance and needing guidance, and we have so many jobs that we can't think about ourselves because we put you first. At the end of the day, regardless of how this interaction goes between us, I'm still gonna put you first. And like what she said, she brings in positivity all the time. What she said, she hasn't changed the person that she is since she was a civilian and becoming a police officer. Myself, everybody says, hey, you're so happy, you're so energetic, like, that's gonna die down. It's like, the energy that I give off is what I want the person I'm interacting with to feel. I want you to feel like you can trust me and you know, hey, I'm gonna be okay regardless of how I'm feeling. So as hard as it is, we're still people, but because of the job that we do and how we feel about it, we will put everything aside and pretend like it never happened, and then later on we'll decompress and we'll have our support system and we'll just sit back and, you know, tomorrow's a new day, and hopefully I made an impact with the person I was with, and that makes me feel better about however I was feeling initially.
To add one thing.
The woman, Miss Joyce, who started a daycare, the foundation for my life, was a Detroit police officer. Her boyfriend at the time, who was one of my father's best friends, was also a police officer. So I grew up with a love for the police officers because they were people that showed me love, right? It was only when I began to grow up and understand the systemic racism that's in this country and how policing came to be and how there's so many other things. But I was forced to remember those relationships with those police officers, with Miss Joyce and with Bruce. So when I did run into a police officer that didn't treat me with kindness, I knew that all cops weren't like that. Even though I did have an attitude, I knew all cops weren't like that, and that kept me grounded. That kept me from not making rash decisions. It's talked me out of a couple tickets. But that relationship has been good for me. So I felt it on both sides.
Jim wants real quick.
We're also like actors too. You know, when we put on that uniform, like somebody said earlier, it's like putting on a costume. It changes. You get into that character of the police officer. But the thing is, within the police department, and a big reason why I wanted to become a police officer, even though I had already worked for the police department, is that brotherhood and sisterhood that you have. So, listen, my coworkers know if I'm having a rough day. They know a lot of times. My partner knows what's going on at home. And there's people that I work with that I know, like, you know what, they had something with their kid, and like, if it's a job dealing with a kid, like, I'm gonna get there before they do. So I can handle it because you know what? It's gonna put him into a ball and wanna cry because he's dealt with something in the past that really affected him. You know, so we know each other. We have this relationship with one another that we're family. So as much as we do, we try 100% to come to work and put on that actor, that we're the police officer, we're strong, we don't have things that bother us. There are things that bother us, and that's why we have each other to lean on a lot.
That's great. We had a last question, right? This young lady had her hand up for a while.
I wanted to kind of touch on what you said about, I don't know if you can hear it, I wanted to touch on what you said. Yeah, okay. I wanted to touch on what you said about the idea of hearing what the person says before responding, right? And how that can help with de-escalation and communication. So as a social worker who often has to call the police as an ally to help someone who may not be in their right frame of mind or maybe decompensating or whatever the case may be, what additional training do you think that you guys require when it comes to mental health conditions and dealing with the mentally ill? Because like you said, you wear a lot of hats and you're not all social workers and you're not all psychologists, but you're called out on those cases. And when things go left, you react and then you're punished for the reaction, right? What do you think would help you guys serve the mentally ill community a little better?
Okay, so I know a lot of times in the news they show a lot of these situations with the mentally ill where it goes sideways, right? Somebody gets killed, unfortunately, or things like that. But so you're a social worker, so you know. On our side, I feel like that's one of we call them EDP jobs, emotionally distressed person. We go to those jobs, especially in my precinct, more than anything else, really. And I can say a lot of my coworkers are amazing. The way that they can de-escalate, the way they can calm someone down, and the news never talks about those at all. And we deal with thousands of them a day where we only have a handful that has been in the news in the past years that went wrong. We're actually very, very good at that, and it always upsets me when people say we need more social workers, less cops dealing with these situations. Those are some of my favorite situations to deal with because I feel like you can really connect with these people. Those are the times you can really actually feel like you've helped someone when you're through with it. Listen, we could always use more training in a lot of things, but I think in general, our city, our country, our society as a whole needs to do more for people with mental illness. There was a time where I pulled a woman off the train tracks. She was trying to kill herself. And as we're trying to get information for her, as the ambulance is coming to pick her up, I look at her wrist and she has a Bellevue bracelet on. They released her that morning. So she had attempted to kill herself, had been hospitalized and released almost immediately, and then attempted to do it again. So for me, I would want there to be, and I don't know what that answer is, but I would like for there to be something to do where we can actually help people who have the mental illness. Once we have them in our custody and we can send them, and what do we always do in Manhattan South? We send them to Bellevue. What's happening at Bellevue? How can we get them from there to somewhere where they're actually going to get the help that they need and they deserve?
Also, I was just gonna add to it really quick. EMS, they're great resources, but also a lot of the cops that you work with are great resources because some of us have previous backgrounds and everybody has their own personality. So you have multiple people that hopefully and willingly will connect with that person. So it's like, if one person isn't getting through to them, then you have another person. And it's like, we are really people, if that makes sense. So with that being said, it's like, you seeing somebody distressed, you don't want them to be distressed. It's why you de-escalate. So it's like, everybody's hands are full on force because we're all trying to help, and eventually, more than likely, it does end up working in their favor because they do end up getting help, or they end up going to the appropriate place. Like she said, you go back to the hospital, or they're no longer in distress. So I feel like we're also really good resources, along with you guys.
Thank you. Okay, that's going to have to be the last question. I have a favor to ask of you. In your programs, there is a survey. We're going to hand out pencils, which we just bought today. If you would please fill out the survey before you leave here. And what do they do with it, Elena? Elena? Great. And we're going to keep the bar open for about half an hour. If you want to stay around and talk to these folks and have a glass of wine, that would be great. The last thing I want to say is this program depends on private support. And every year we start from zero-based funding, and we have to raise the money to do it again and again and again. So if you've got disposable income and you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation to Irondale for TPSU, we would certainly appreciate that too. So thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you guys for doing a wonderful job.